Excuse me, could you point me in the direction of ScreamCity? Never mind, I think I found it.
Hello, horror freaks. Welcome back to ScreamCity. I'm your host, Monica.
And I'm Jessica, and today we will be discussing the 2011 film. Dang, I can't say this year.
Film.
Okay. 2011 film, The Cabin in the Woods.
That was a while ago, so
it
it's
was
fine.
Complicated.
It was literally 12 years ago. God damn.
Yeah, I was a little baby.
Yeah. Anyway, before we jump into the movie, we are going to go through our pick and our peep.
Pick and pick.
Our peak and our pit.
Yeah.
What have been yours for the past few days?
Well, Monica, I think you know my peak, okay?
Oh my goodness.
My peak
okay.
is that I
Get it
met
out of the way.
the love of my life this weekend, and he met me too. We met each other.
We met.
And we both
you
fell in
met like each other's soulmates.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We both fell in love with each other. We're gonna elope, actually, fun fact.
Oh, okay. You talked about that all in the...
We sure did.
Oh, well, you met him the day prior.
Correct.
And then you took a photo up with him, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Fan Expo was this past weekend.
Yeah.
I went all 3 days, and prior to starting recording right now, this episode, I was telling Monica that I don't have the energy that I used to have years ago for a 3-day convention.
No.
3-day weekend convention. Like, this weekend just, like, drained everything out of me. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I still had a great time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's because Fan Expo is so big. Like, TFW was definitely a lot. But Fan Expo is... It's overwhelming.
A bigger venue. There's so many people.
There's so many like booths and so many vendors, so many different types of like corners that you want to visit, and it's very overwhelming.
Like they had, I don't know if you saw, but they had like a horror themed escape room. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
It was all 3 days.
Where was that?
I don't remember where it was, but it was from like open to 9 p.m. the whole weekend.
What the fuck?
And I'm really mad that I didn't go because I know that it would have been really cool.
That sounds like fun.
But again, I didn't have the time or energy or the money.
Or the money. It cost money to go through?
It was probably like $15, I think.
Oh. That is so... I did not notice that. Okay, well, what's been your pit?
My
pit. That you don't have energy.
My pit is that
you don't have energy.
I don't got mega knees. I don't got
mega knees either.
Yeah, no. Just, I've been pretty tired. I've been working overnight shifts, and I don't wake up till like 4 p.m. the following morning.
Yeah.
So, and it's also messing with my sleep schedule for, among other things and everything. But yeah.
Okay.
You know, you live and you learn. She believed she could, so she did.
Yeah.
Nevertheless, she persisted.
There you go.
Amen. What about you?
So my peak, I think I will consider Fan Expo as well. I only went one day. I only went Sunday. There was a ton of cool... I don't know why I so desperately... My mouth wants to say authors.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Bro, I'm telling you, this weekend...
that is not what this convention was about.
These past couple of days has just been draining us.
There was a lot of cool actors and celebrities that definitely would have loved to meet, but not for the amount of money. Like, I wasn't willing to spend the money to meet these celebrities and people, although everyone who was there was definitely, like, it was a really good, like, lineup. Amount of celebrity. Yeah, lineup. However, my boyfriend and I really only went to spend money on vendors, and that's exactly what I did. My pit, I think, has also just been this weekend. I was just telling Jessica that mentally I'm not doing well. This past weekend, like, these past 3 days at work were just awful. And I think it kind of slowly dragged me through until today. So I think both of us are a little bit low on energy for today's episode, but that's not going to stop us from saying what we need to say about this movie.
Because this is a movie.
This was a movie. I liked it, though. But yeah, I mean,
But
We continue.
getting that depressiveness out of the way. Finally getting into this movie a little bit. If you haven't had the chance to watch this movie, just know that there will be spoilers, so don't say we didn't warn you.
Absolutely.
But to give a quick synopsis, and this is coming straight from IMDb. I'm finally saying that correctly, so proud of myself.
On the first try.
5 friends go for a break at a remote cabin where they get more than they bargained for, discovering the truth behind the cabin in the woods.
How ominous.
I know, right?
I love how they all are so ominous. Okay, so with the summary, Jess, why don't you tell us what your 3 are? Your first impression, your favorite scene, and your favorite kill.
Yes, so first impression, I remember when I was younger thinking that this movie was one of the most terrifying, and this was pre-watching it. Mm-hmm. Just, I would always see the poster for it.
Well, the poster for it is pretty creepy.
It is pretty creepy.
It's giving, Wrong Turn.
Yeah.
Or, what's the one with Jennifer Lawrence? Is it that one?
House on the...
Last House on the Left.
Yes. Yeah, I remember again, this was pre me watching it, thinking oh my God, I never want to watch it because it looks so scary.
So scary.
So scary, so spooky. And yeah, I was still so young, so all I really knew about the movie was that it looked terrifying, and I actually wasn't aware that it was satire or it was supposed to be a horror comedy.
Yeah.
But I finally watched it not too long ago with my sister, and I honestly really enjoyed it. I feel like it's
I thought you would find it funny.
Yeah, I feel like it's the perfect mix of everything, horror and comedy, and I'm a sucker for both, obviously.
True.
So, I don't know, I really like it. I think the humor's great, the horror...
It kind of gives me the
aspect is
same
great.
type of comedy that Shaun of the Dead sort of gives. It's literally just satire.
Yeah.
It's comedy, but it's satire comedy.
I remember it also gave me very much Bloodfest vibes, which I know we definitely have to talk about that one.
Yes.
As soon as we can, but just the whole knowing that there's someone behind all of this.
Right.
It was giving me very much Bloodfest vibes.
Knowing there's something going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
someone
sure.
controlling.
Yeah. Yeah.
The situation, something like that. My favorite scene, I don't know. I feel like there's so much going on in this movie that it's hard to pick a favorite. And I could be wrong, but I feel like I said the same thing about Evil Dead Rise. There's so much going on in the movie that I don't have time.
The whole half of the movie is already gone, and you're like, what?
Right. Yeah. But this isn't really giving a clear answer. I mean, a specific answer at least.
Right.
But I think any scene where Marty is in is just amazing.
It's a good time.
It's such a good time.
Honestly, I agree.
Especially when he hears the voices.
Oh, yes.
He was just so who was it? Or not who was it? It's one of the voices said, I want to go on a walk or something like that. And he gets up and he's like, whoa, I don't know. Just his reaction during the whole thing is just so funny.
Yeah, he plays he played that role really well.
Yeah.
He's a good time. I love him.
Sure did. And then my favorite kill, I have to go with Kurt's, because Kurt's
is good.
Was so funny. And when I tell you the gasp that I gasped.
Yeah.
It was insane. It was a mix of a jump scare and comedy all at the same time. It was so funny, and I kid you not, I know that we saw a glimpse of that, screen or whatever it is at the beginning. Yeah. But I wasn't expecting it. I think it was the element of surprise.
It's out of sight, out of mind. So much has happened in the movie prior to his death that you completely forget that there's a shield outside of the...
We were so confident. We were all so
and
confident.
And he looked like he was going to make it, too. I think that's the funniest thing.
Bam.
Yep.
It was so funny. But
had your sister seen the movie prior?
Yes. Yeah. She's one of the first ones that watched it, probably. Yeah.
I'll go ahead and get my favorite kill out of the way because it's the same one. There were so many. I was going to choose the zombie, the one that Dana and Holden kill. Mm-hmm. They're in the basement, and then the zombie, which that zombie is pretty terrifying. He had the bear trap whipping at people.
Oh yeah.
His was pretty satisfying because of the way that she ram him in the eyeball, and then he woke up, and then she like started stabbing him more, and then I think he ended up dying, because his was really gruesome and gross, and I liked it. But the more that I watched the movie, and then I saw Kurt's kill is so funny.
You can't. And I have to give it to him. Chris Hemsworth is a very funny guy.
Like, he plays a really good, and I think he does this, like, he does it in Thor 2, which I don't know if you've ever seen Thor Ragnarok, but like him as an actor, he knows how to play satire really well. So he plays like serious, but like tells a joke, and it just makes it funnier, because you're just like, huh?
He's got the face for it, I think.
Yeah.
And I feel like any other actor, that scene also would have been funny, but knowing that it was Chris Hemsworth just makes it 1,000 times better.
And his character too, because his character apparently wasn't, like, because of the environment and all of the things that were, you know, manipulating him, made him to be like a jerk, like this jock of a jerk, and he was just like, whatever, like, I just want one thing. Like, he dies thinking that he can do something because he's like, whatever, I can do it. And then just to see that he fucking dies. I will say though, like I said, like, it really looked like he was going to make it. At least that's like what they made it out to seem. But my first impression, I remember watching this about a year or two after the movie had come out, and I was just confused because I was like, what is this? But I found it really funny, and I enjoyed it a lot. The main thing that I was getting from this is Evil Dead vibes, which I feel like is what they were trying to satire, or what they were trying to quote unquote make fun of or do a parody of. There are too many similarities that I was like, there's no way. But I think the whole point of this movie was like breaking down each thing of being like, this is what happens. So I thought it was really funny. So I loved it ever since I watched it. My favorite scene is when the zombie shows up at the door with Jules's head after, when Dana is like, I'm not leaving without Jules. Right. And then she opens the door to quote unquote go look for her, and the zombie is at the door, and he's just holding her head, and then he tosses her head at her, and he's like, you can have her. I thought that was so funny. Very gross and very gruesome, because it's very gory. Like, you can see her head, whatever. But oh my gosh, was I like, bitch. It's a really good scene, and I love it. But now we can talk about the movie a little bit more and dissect it just a bit further. So just to mention some of our favorite scenes and moments, do you have any?
Yeah, I have a few. I will say I like how the first real creepy thing that they encounter on their way to the cabin is like a sketchy gas station.
Oh my gosh.
Is obviously a must for an iconic horror film.
Yes.
And kind of incorporating a fun fact into that is that the actor who plays the gas station clerk, which I feel like he has a name, I forgot.
Dude, he's so funny.
The actor who plays the gas station clerk or owner is actually in the 2006 The Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
What?
Which is, of course, known for its iconic gas station.
What? Really?
He is... Oh, I forgot what he is in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. But, yeah.
Oh my
I'm sure
I'll look him up, and then I'll probably... I can probably see. I wasn't aware that is so funny. I love that. Yeah. I like the typical gas station scene. It's a really good one, because again, it's just throwing a little bit of like parody and satire at one of the most iconic things that Texas Chainsaw gave us, and I thought it was really funny. I also love when the clerk is on the phone with the guys. He's like, "Bro, am I on speaker?" And he's like, "What? No."
That's another thing I was gonna say that I loved so much about this movie is that the on-screen chemistry that Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins have.
Oh my gosh, they are so funny.
I love them, and their characters, they're literally just like me.
Agreed.
If I was in their position, that would be me. Yeah, when they're both laughing at Mordecai is his name.
Oh, the Mordecai, yes. Mordecai.
It was so funny. And then I don't know who it was. Mordecai was like, "Am I on speaker?" And one of them was like, like the way that they're just cracking up was so funny.
They're just like laughing at him.
I love it.
I thought it was so funny. He's like, "Am I on speaker right now?" He's like, "What? No. Oh, yeah. He's like, "Dude, that's not cool. I don't know who's in the room," and like whatever. He's like, "But anyway," and then he goes back to this like very
ominous,
eerie, scary tone. And then he starts laughing and he's like, okay, am I on speaker? Am I still on speaker? And it's so funny. And then you start laughing at him. And I'm like, poor guy. I need to know. I need to know what Dr. Avery is doing in this movie. Ariana, what are you doing here?
Yeah, no, it's funny because I obviously know him as Dr. Jackson Avery, of course.
Jackson. I so badly wanted to call him James Avery.
Bro, the amount of times that I always want to call him James Avery, it's so funny.
I love their jewelry.
I was going to say, isn't his real name James, but it's actually Jesse Williams. So.
Jesse Williams.
Anyway, yeah,
I love him. He's such a handsome man.
He is so handsome. And
I love how the four people, sorry, Marty, but the four people that we get, like the two couples, all four of them are eye candy. Mm-hmm. And I love that for a typical horror movie. Like, it's 100%. A typical slasher, if you will.
We get the stoner, the scholar, the virgin, the jock, and the whore.
Yes.
The Trinity.
Literally,
I don't know,
the Trinity.
What's the word for 5? Whatever it is, it's
the
that.
Quintuplet of the horror genre.
Okay, yeah.
No, it's all fun. And I love every single one of them. And they each played it really well. I also love... So Marty... not Marty. It is Marty.
Yeah,
Marty. Always a good time. His fucking mug that turns into a bong. Dude. That, like... When he first showed it, like, before they left on their trip, I was dying when he was like, what bong? And he just, like, puts it back together. He just carries it like a mug. And I was like, man. See, one thing about stoners and drunks, they're going to get clever with things. And that
is fucking clever.
That is fucking clever.
And, okay, I first thought it was a telescope because...
It does look a little...
It does kind of look like
one.
Yeah. But fun fact about that coffee mug / bong is that it's actually a fully functional mug and bong.
Oh my gosh.
Just as portrayed in the film. And fun fact, it cost $5,000 to make.
$5,000?
Yeah.
How are you going to spend all that money on that type of product and not have them use it in the movie?
Right.
Like, I would have loved to see him just...
as merch.
Seriously, that would have been...
how much that, like...
That's iconic.
People would buy it.
I mean, he used it as a weapon, but I would love to see him use it as an actual bomb.
Right. This movie, and I know it does obviously, poke fun at every iconic horror film, but to me, it was giving, like, of course, Evil Dead. It was giving Bloodfest. But it was low-key giving Belko Experiment with the whole, like, people... Like,
people watching
workers.
People. Yeah, like, people... Honestly, I would like to know what type of credentials I would need to work at an office like that.
Right.
Because as sad as it would be to watch people die, it also looks fun.
It sure
the
does.
way that they were betting on like how they were gonna die,
exactly,
it was very like funny, and I can only imagine.
It would have been, and I know we get a glimpse of every monster and creature or whatever, kind of towards the end, but I feel like it would have been really cool. I think what they could have done. Okay, put me in the writers' room.
Put me in the writers' room right now.
I think what they could have done is not just let one specific creature try to kill them, like
just let the doors loose.
Yes, but they read from that like diary or whatever, and it summoned those
zombies. It summoned the, I wrote it down, the zombie redneck torture family.
There we go. It summoned them.
That is so funny.
But I think it also would have been cool to see, like, the fucking Sugar Plum Fairy.
Oh my gosh,
fucking ugly ass. She was fucking creepy as fuck.
She was creepy as hell.
I would have liked to see how...
But so was Razor Man.
Razor Man.
Cute. Yeah.
And then, what else? Like, the werewolf and just, like, in general, not just wait until, like, last minute when all of them get released and
scary.
All of that.
Yeah.
I think it would have been really cool. But yeah.
Like something else, like if there was like an alternate ending, or not alternate ending, but like
an alternate whatever,
like I need a movie with each monster.
Yeah, exactly. I'm saying, bro.
And I would love to see, I love how the office was like cheering because they were like, yeah, the virgin's the last one, like woo woo woo, and then they get the call and then they're like, what you mean?
Yeah.
What you mean? And then my man Marty pulls up with his bong as a weapon. And then I'm like,
I know.
Good for him.
I love how
Good
they're
for
like
him.
all celebrating, and then in the background was just Dana fighting for her fucking life. I'm like, wouldn't you want to celebrate after he actually kills her?
Well, because they had said, they're like, it doesn't matter.
Because she's
the
way,
virgin,
she's the
so
virgin,
it's
yeah.
technically optional just as long as she suffered. They're like, which, to be fair, she suffered because she watched all her friends die.
Right.
And now she's suffering because she's getting her ass beat. So, and then I'm like, that is so funny. But I like the concept of the movie. I think the concept is so funny, like having the Trinity, because that is literally what you have in every slasher movie, especially in like the older ones.
right.
And I thought this movie was very clever, and I thought it was very well put together. Is it the best movie? No.
No.
But it is definitely a good one for my people who don't like horror but want to try something. Definitely try this horror comedy. It's gory, so you still have some scare type moments, but I think the comedy relief helps a lot. And especially everyone who's in this movie. The cast lineup in this movie is really good too.
Which, getting into the cast a little bit.
Which, you know what,
a
while
little
we're there.
segue into our cast. As we say in every episode, again, this movie had a great cast, of course.
But I did love everyone who was in this.
Yeah.
They did so good.
Kristen Connolly as Dana, Chris Hemsworth as Kurt, Anna Hutchison as Jules, Fran Kranz as Marty, Jesse Williams as Holden, Richard Jenkins, Sitterson, Bradley
him.
Whitford, love you,
Love him.
as Hadley, Brian White as Truman, which I was watching a video, and if you think about it, it makes sense. Truman, the name of the character, could imply like a reference to the Truman Show.
Oh my god, I was literally just thinking that.
Yeah.
Because that is so true. It's little things.
It's the little things.
It's the little
I also,
things.
while I was doing my research on this, I did stumble across a YouTube video that said all of the references in The Cabin in the Woods. And I didn't finish the video, but I learned a lot.
Really?
And that was one of the ones that
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
I love that. I'm obsessed.
Amy Acker as Lynn, Tim DeZarn as Mordecai. Oh, Tim DeZarn, by the way,
Tim DeZarn
is the guy
who's in Texas
is
Chainsaw.
in 2006 Texas Chainsaw. And then, of course, can't forget Sigourney Weaver as the director.
Yes. Dude, I'm telling you, the concept of this movie is so funny and so great, and I think everyone who is in this movie just helps like elevate that to another level. I will say it's not a comfort movie for me, but I do like showing this movie to people who haven't seen it before. And it's an overall good one.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love it. And I think the poster honestly doesn't do it justice.
Iconic.
Like, it's iconic. I love it for sure. But I don't think it gives you nothing on what this movie is about, and
Which
that's the best
is
part.
good.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Exactly.
that's the best part.
That reminds me of I don't know if I've said this before, but my sister is very anti-trailers. So anytime she does like getting to the movies early, but every time the trailers start to show, she's like either on her phone or she's like closing her eyes and covering her ears because she hates trailers. I don't mind them just because I'm like, I will forget it in 5
Oh,
seconds.
for sure. Especially if we're going to the movies and then they
yeah.
have like previews at the beginning.
Like Evil Dead Rise. If I'm not mistaken, I watched the trailer like maybe once and I was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck just happened. But I'm like, okay. I go to the movie and I'm like, what the fuck did I just watch? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, and I, again, like I mentioned earlier, when I was younger, I remember watching the trailer for it, not understanding what was going on. I was like, I don't understand how, they're trying to make it funny, but it's horror,
Yeah.
But that concept just wasn't clicking in my little self brain.
But I don't know, I thought overall, I think overall this movie's done well. Mm-hmm. I think it's just, it did what it got.
It did what it had to do.
Yes. It's giving what needs to be Gavin. You know what I mean?
It gave what needed to be Gavin.
And gave where it needed to be Gavin. Marty, not so much, but he is so funny.
Yeah.
Marty is really funny.
I love
He's
little...
He's a good time.
A little stoner, scrawny white man.
Because what did they say? Because they were like, they're basically saying like all the shit that he's smoking, he's being like it's
making him immune.
Yeah, it's making him immune to all of our things.
Yeah.
To our gases and things that are in the air.
I love
so
also
it's not
the
affecting
scene
him.
where Kurt is like, we can't separate, like we have to stick together, and then they release the stupid gas.
Yes.
And then he's like, wait, we would cover more ground or whatever
if we separate. And then of course his friends are like, yeah, that sounds good.
I like to think that I would be immune to it, only I don't know, that's hard.
Right. Like to be like, I also would be like, what are you talking about? But I don't know.
But if that gas got to me,
it got to me.
Hey, unless we smoking that.
Unless we smoking that good.
What Marty is smoking, then
yeah. If I need to know what Marty was on, because if it made him immune, that he survived throughout the whole thing, then I need to be what he's on. I need to make sure I'm not.
Can I just say,
pressured as much?
Off topic. I obviously watched Get Out first before watching The Cabin in the Woods.
Yeah.
So I did not recognize my homeboy Bradley Whitford at all.
Bradley Whitford.
The guy who plays Hadley. He's the dad from Get Out. He would
He's
have
the
voted
dad
for
in
Obama.
Get Out?
Huh?
He's the dad in Get Out?
Yeah.
He sure is. He sure is.
I did not recognize that man because in this movie, he don't got a beard. He don't got glasses. Like it was
he don't got nothing.
I have a fun little fact for you guys.
Go ahead.
And it's probably going to be the only fact that I'm going to give because it's going to take a very quick second for me to explain it. Okay.
All right.
So the FX makeup company that was used for this movie is called AFX Studio.
AFX Studio.
During the time, it was being ran by David Anderson.
Okay.
David Anderson is the son of Leroy Anderson, who used to run that company. Okay. So got passed down.
Passed down, yeah.
Leroy Anderson, who's the father, if I'm not mistaken, did FX for Pet Sematary.
Ooh.
Okay. Very cool.
Okay.
Now wait.
Okay.
Leroy Anderson, again, the father, married to none other than Heather Langenkamp, aka Nancy from A Nightmare on Elm Street.
Oh my god!
And they all worked on it together.
That is so sweet.
The Cabin in the Woods, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love that.
So, I thought that was really cool.
So they did the FX makeup on this movie?
Yes, on Cabin in the Woods.
Oh my gosh.
It was mostly like, again, David, who's the son, was I think at the time running the company, but both the dad Leroy and Heather, of course, the mom, were definitely helping around and all of that.
That is so sweet. I love when there's connections in the horror community of all sorts.
And I didn't dig too deep into it, but I wonder, and this is, again, I actually haven't done my research on this, I probably should have, but I wonder if Heather and Leroy met on the set of like a movie.
Ooh.
Right? Because he was
100% if he was an FX makeup
artist and she's an actress.
Oh, imagine becoming an FX makeup artist just to be like, whatever, like I just want to make spooky things on people.
Right.
And then you fall in love with an actress or an actor.
That's really cool.
That is so sweet. I didn't know that. I will say the FX makeup on this movie is really good and I like it a lot. About every monster that's in that movie is fucking scary.
Very bloody, very gory.
Very bloody, very gory, very nice.
The cubes, or the moving cubes where they show every single creature and whatever. That one was done like very digitally, I think, is what I heard.
You can kind of tell what's CGI.
And they had two different, or maybe more, but they had different sizes. They had a smaller one for the creatures that were supposed to look giant. Like I think there was like a giant woman, so she was like in the smaller one to make it appear like she was
perception
giant.
Perception, like type
basically.
of different.
So yeah, I thought that was really cool.
That's
and
nice.
There was like, from what I heard, there was like a lot of math involved, and I was like, I could never do that. I was like, you got me on FX makeup. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Like I can.
You got me in the writing studio.
FX makeup, but all that other shit, and it's not shit. I'm just saying, like all that other stuff.
The minute you start including numbers,
when you start including math and numbers, I'm out.
I'm good. I don't want to be in that bed.
I can watch from afar.
Not where numbers can destroy me.
Yeah.
So I'm good. Well, since we're nearing towards the end of the episode, I think it's now a perfect time to do a little Would You Rather? Yeah. So for this movie, would you rather discover the truth behind the sinister organization controlling the events in the cabin in the woods, but unable to reveal it to anyone, or live in a blissful ignorance, unaware of the large scheme at play? So would you rather find out about the organization but not be able to tell people, or would you just live your life in ignorant bliss, not knowing that, this stuff is happening I mean, given ignorance is bliss in certain cases.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
I feel like I'd rather live in blissful ignorance, unaware that this is going on.
Right.
Because I have anxiety.
So my thing is, like, if I find out, at first I'd be very like, oh, what you guys are doing are wrong. But like, how do I get a job here?
Right. How much y'all pay?
Yeah, like, how much I'll pay? Like, what's the like, I need
what's the onboarding process like?
What's the onboarding process look like? Like, do I have to myself go through one of these scenarios?
Right.
Like, how do you guys, what's the money?
Yeah.
I really want to know, because this seems like a very high risk job, and I want to know, So I think I'd be a little curious. So not being able to tell anyone might make me feel very like, I have to tell someone. But at the same time, if I'm getting paid good enough, I'm good with just laying low.
Right.
Yeah.
Listen, the inner horror in me and the money hungry horror in me would love to go down that route.
Those are the only two horrors in me that are wanting to
For
go.
sure.
Yeah.
So I 1,000% agree. Like, I understand, but I don't know. I don't know if I'd rather just like live like all dilly-dally and just not know what's going on. Because that way, I'm not suffering with anxiety knowing that something bad could potentially happen. You know what I mean? I mean, I already think that every single day of my life.
Right.
So why add something else on top of that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Well, so you would rather live in ignorant bliss?
I would rather live in ignorant bliss.
Blimp.
Ignorant blimp.
Okay.
Than
know what's going on and not be able to tell someone.
In this sinister organization.
Okay. I'm choosing the other one. I want to find out what they're doing.
Okay.
But then I'm also going to find out what they're paid.
For sure.
Like, keep my mouth shut.
Right.
Well, I mean, I guess I have to. But, like, if I'm going to find out about that organization, I might as well work there. The least you could do is give me a job.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
And before we continue on, I guess actually before we have our answers, right? Like, yeah. I would rather just like
you'd rather
not
be
know
an ignorant blimp.
What's going on, and you would be like, yeah, give me a job there.
And I'm choosing.
Now I have a question, and again, I think I got this from that same, and we'll probably link it because it is a pretty cool video, but I think what they said, and I might be saying this wrong, so don't come at me. I'm just the messenger.
I'm just the messenger.
Who understood wrong, more than likely.
Okay.
But, almost everything in this movie has a reference, right? To another horror movie.
Right.
What do you think the ancient gods refer to?
What do you mean?
So, like the ancient gods that came out from the underworld and just destroyed the earth.
Yeah.
So what I understood from the video that I watched...
Oh, like what they're referring to as the undergods.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
What I understood from the video that I was watching is that it's we as in like the horror fans.
Yep.
Are
you got to keep the audience happy.
Gods.
Yeah, like
because we were angry that the virgin wasn't the only one who stayed alive.
Yep.
Like
why is there a second person?
Yeah, it should only
who's trying to take her spotlight.
It should only be the virgin who stays alive. It should only
be the final girl.
Exactly.
Who's never had sex and who did all these things to try to survive.
Exactly. And I really, really liked that theory. Again, I don't know if it is a confirmed reference or if it's just a theory or whatever, but I loved that in general.
I thought that's really cool.
It's us, the horror fandom.
Yeah.
Represent, or more like the ancient gods
from the
movie represent us, the horror fans.
I love that. I love that idea.
We are angry, or I guess, that the virgin wasn't the only one who survived.
Right.
You know, and there's specific rules, just as Randy, our friend, once said.
Yeah, that you have to follow. When they were having sex and she ended up dying.
Mm-hmm.
And she ended up showing some titty. Mm-hmm. And he was like, come on, show me the goods. Show me the money. And they're like, or who was it? Truman. He was just like, ain't they kind of wrong? Mm-hmm. And then he's like, you got to give the people what they want. Mm-hmm. And it's so right. Unfortunately, there's a lot of male gays in the horror community. Or not in the horror community, but like in the horror movies. And
I feel like it was definitely way more like seen in the early 2000s.
Oh, 100%. It was like stereotypical horror, for sure. Like taking all of these different elements that are so emphasized and so like deemed down upon, like kind of vibe. And so they were just kind of like, let's emphasize and let's make it funny. And I like the way that they did that. But I like that theory. That one's a really good one, and I like that idea. Yeah. I love it. Well, okay, now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and rate our movie before the ending. So this is a horror comedy, so we will be rating this movie with both of our scales, with satisfactory and scary. Just because a horror movie is good doesn't always mean it's scary, and vice versa. Jessica, what do you rate your movie, or this movie?
My movie.
Your movie.
Scary scale, I'm gonna give it 5.5 / 5.5.
5.5.
I'm struggling, y'all.
Okay.
5 out of 10.
A 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10, and I'll tell you why. Yes, it was spooky, scary skeletons.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
The deaths were pretty gruesome. Some of them came very unexpected, and again, just very gruesome. So I did appreciate that. But I feel like the other factor that's playing into this, the fact that I'm giving it a 5 out of 10, is because it is scary thinking that this could potentially happen to you. Just like knowing that there's someone else in control to your, like, in your life or whatever, or the decisions that you make. I think that's very creepy. And that's probably why I hate psychological thrillers. But but I didn't really find this one very,
that scary
when it comes to that type of,
but
yeah, scary scale, 5 out of 10. Overall, pretty gory, pretty bloody. Very, very much liked it.
Good.
Satisfactory, 8.5 out of 10. Again, loved it. Funny. Horror, exactly what I like. No real huge complaints. Like Monica mentioned, I don't want to consider it like a favorite.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, it's not a...
But it's definitely a movie that I will be rewatching again because it's so funny.
It is really funny. I like it.
And stuff like that.
So. I like it a lot. No, I agree. I think my horror scale is more of... Yeah, my horror scale is like a 2. I didn't find it that scary. It's hard for me to find something scary that I find so entertaining. But I give it props for being gory and for being like violent and for being like all the things that are in a horror movie. And the fucking zombies and the monsters themselves are pretty scary. They're pretty creepy. And the one and only time, well, I got a few jump scares, but the first jump scare is the fucking title scene.
Title card,
where just and
that shit was so good.
Very scary. But yeah, so it has the horror elements in it for sure. Just not, terrifying. Satisfactory. Mine's more of an 8 out of 10. I liked it. I mean, same thing. I liked it. I love the concept of the movie. I love the idea. I like how it was. I love how it was made and I guess developed, if that makes sense. And I think it's doing well for what it is now. Again, it's not like a comfort or a favorite movie, but I do enjoy this movie a lot. Yeah. Like it's a good one for sure. And I love being able to introduce this movie to people who haven't seen it.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think the script was written in 3 days.
For what?
For this movie. The script was written in 3 days.
Oh, shit. Are you serious?
I think.
That is so funny.
Yes.
That person was typing away. They're like, rain is due, gotta go. Well, I think that concludes this episode on Cabin in the Woods. It looks like we are nearing towards the end, but as always, we did have a blast to record this. And if today's episode intrigued you and you haven't watched this movie, but you would like to, you can watch it on Max, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video with subscriptions. You can also purchase it or rent it for $3.99 on YouTube, Redbox, Vudu, and Google Play Movies and TV. Thanks again, and of course, for everyone tuning in and listening and keeping up with us. We truly appreciate you guys and your support. And if you want to keep up with us, you can see all of our social media in the summary description.
Yep, and of course, like a broken record in every episode, we do sincerely appreciate all of y'all for listening and supporting us. We love receiving DMs from
you
y'all,
guys, yeah,
and reading how much y'all enjoy,
like
each
our
episode.
episodes, yeah, it's fun.
And comments as well on posts about your own thoughts. We do appreciate hearing your own thoughts and about the specific movie or the episode in general. So again, we truly do appreciate all of that.
It feels good to know that, what we're doing is at least reaching some of you guys, and you guys are just as entertained, because that's just kind of the point. We just like to be able to connect with one another on a genre that's not so well liked by a lot of people. So it feels good. But with that being said, if you liked today's episode as well, please tune in to next week's episode where we talk about Sleepaway Camp. Okay, that's a bit of an oldie and a little bit of a classic. I don't know if you guys have ever seen that one, but I'm kind of excited to kind of do a little wraparound to our classics and bring one back, because I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I've ever seen this one like all the way through.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never watched it.
Never watched it? Mm-mm. I'm excited. Sleepaway Camp, I feel like you can't get any more summer than that.
Right.
It's probably gonna give maybe some Friday the 13th vibes, but that's okay. Summer camp, that's the whole point. Well, before we end it, Jessica, do you think that this week's movie was a movie?
Thank you for asking. I do believe that this week's movie was a movie.
You thought it was a movie?
It was a movie.
Honestly, yeah, it was a movie.
It was a movie.
This was one of those movies that I was like, what?
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I really liked it.
Love being kept on my toes, but it was a movie. Good. Well, there you have it. Thank you guys so much, and we will talk to you guys next week. And as always, we've been your hosts, Monica.
And Jessica.
Stay safe.
And stay spooky.
Oof, that was scary. I can't wait to come back next week.